Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another impressive episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. In one corner, we have the greatest thing on God's green earth. No, we're not talking about money or Popeye spinach. He is the Trackle Dart of Ringside Society and Delaware's greatest American hero. It takes two to make a thing go right. He is Rob Bass, and you are not. In the second quarter, we have that ocean crossing, straight up bossing, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always on the go. Catch him if you can. Said his name in Ghana. Now they love him in Japan. The worldwide star boy, Remy Blue. And our special guest tonight is actually a first for us here at Ringside Society. Yes, for the first time. Pardon me, I had to cough there for a minute. But for the first time in our 2-year history, we've had referees. Obviously, we've had wrestlers, promoters, managers, ring announcers. Heck, we've even had people that have done documentaries. But for the first time in history, we have from Hull, Quebec, Canada, a great country. By the way, if y'all have not gone, I highly recommend it, especially in the summertime. He has produced entrance themes for some of our alumni guests, such as Louis Lessons and Karma Dean, and he is gradually making a name for himself. Everybody, welcome to the show, entrance theme producer, or entrance theme producer. My bad, I kind of started there. Mr. Squirty LeFlow. Squirty, how you doing tonight, man?
Hey guys, how you doing? Thank you so much for having me. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So you're all the way over there in Quebec, Canada. How's the weather out there, man?
Well, today it's been a bit cooler. We've been getting up to like 35 degrees and up for the past week there. So I know people think that Canada is just igloos and all that shit there, but no, it's actually we get plus 40s and we get minus 40s. We get all the extremes over here. So it's but the last couple of days it's been all right there. But if you have a pool handy, it helps a lot.
Cool. Well, I personally know that Canada is more than igloos because I actually used to live in Canada for like, I believe, a year and a half. I was actually in Toronto, Canada for like a year and a half, and I had very fond memories of it. I always tell people, if you're gonna go to Canada, if you're not a winter person, go in the summertime, and your opinion of it would change. Like I said, I firsthand know how Canada can be. I've been to several parks. You guys have some of the best like preserved nature parks there are, and I just enjoyed my time there, and I definitely wouldn't mind going back. It's really awesome. Hopefully, I can actually go to like someplace like Vancouver, Quebec, Calgary, and all that. And I tell you what, I gotta ask you. So Quebec, there are several people that have actually came from Quebec. Several wrestlers that came from Quebec. And I just gotta ask, are the Rougeaus and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn hometown heroes over there?
I would probably, especially Montreal. So I'm about 2 hours away from Montreal. In a place called Gatineau, and so the Rougeaus, Kevin Owens, all that gang. I'm not exactly sure where the Rougeaus come from, but Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, definitely Montreal guys. And when they played the Bell Center here, where the Canadians play, the place is packed, and they go nuts for Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn there. And I actually, my mother was a huge wrestling fan in the 70s. So she kind of like, it was like the lineage got passed on for wrestling interest. And she, where I am in Hull, it's called Gatineau, but it used to be called Hull before the the cities nearby consolidated under one name, under the Gatineau name. But here in Hull in the 70s and 80s, there was an arena called the Robert Gartin Arena that had all of the big wrestlers, like international wrestlers, would come and wrestle here. Like we had Andre the Giant wrestling 5 minutes away from my house in the 70s, right? So Dino Bravo, Gino Brito, all those guys, right? So this Quebec has always been a mecca for professional wrestling. It's the interest has dwindled down over the years. Can't lie about that. I think that so Quebec would follow the wave of like wrestling's popularity. Wrestling is slowly coming back. It's slowly on an upswing now for the last few years. So I can see there's actually a friend of mine is a local promoter that started a promotion. So I'm hoping for him that he actually brings a lot of talent in and then could have a resurgence of interest. I know the city is actually backing him up for his promotion, giving him money to hire wrestlers. So it's if COVID can go away and things can reopen fully, I think we might have a little resurgence here for wrestling.
I definitely hope that works out for y'all, because I tell you, I mean, I got a strong feeling. I've always had a feeling that Quebec had a strong fan base in terms of professional wrestling, and I'm definitely hoping that works out for you. As a matter of fact, if your friend ever wants to promote us to come on our show for an interview and promote his promotion, by all means, he's more than welcome to. We're more than just a podcast. We like to inform like the fans what's in their areas, whether you're in the good old US of A or whether you're up north in Canada, Mexico, across the pond, England, et cetera, et cetera. We pride ourselves on that. So that's one of our passions with Ringside Society as well too. So if he ever wants to come on here, he is more than welcome to. But we're to talk to the man behind the music, Squirty LeFlow. I gotta say, Squirty, so it's safe to say that you got your fandom for wrestling from your mother, right?
Yeah, from my parents. I started going to wrestling shows when I was 5 years old, actually. So I started going to shows. I've seen Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior live. Like I started going during that era. At the Civic Center in Ottawa, right across the bridge from here, and that carried on for. I was probably watching wrestling in the late '80s on TV. I don't have very much vivid memories. I was probably watching Saturday Night Main Event back then, and then I know that I have vivid memories. Like I said earlier, the Robert Gartin Arena of seeing in '93 when it was Yokozuna. Undertaker, the casket match feud for the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. I remember seeing the house show of that before it actually aired on pay-per-view, and I've seen at that same arena, I've seen Bret Hart versus Owen Hart cage match, like a 45-minute cage match, the blue steel cage, the whole old school thing there. So my interest in I remember like seeing Razor Ramon there, Doink the Clown, Crush, like during that era, Papa Shango I've seen live, and that kind of stuff there. So so my fandom was started when I was a kid, and over the years, like to me, like the best time in wrestling was still the Attitude Era, and I was a teenager then. I was 16 years old at that time, so it was the best time to be a wrestling fan at 16, teenager. Like that's the prime. I wasn't like the most popular with the girls, but I really enjoyed that time. And ECW was my favorite promotion. It still is my favorite promotion of all time. I used to watch the Monday Night Wars religiously, and then I would watch ECW on the side. So that I kind of my fandom actually trailed off in my 20s because I was really getting more. I got into music when I was 16. I started playing guitar, bass, drums. I was in different bands, and my interests veered off towards more of the music and the audio side of things. I went to film school. I went to sound engineering school. In my 20s, I moved to Montreal, and then I did the music thing for about a decade. And but my wrestling fandom kind of waned. Like I missed the whole John Cena era, basically. I kind of stopped watching wrestling religiously around the Invasion angle, like 2001, 2002. And I reconnected with wrestling about a decade later. WrestleMania 29 is where I got back on. And ever since then, I've been watching it. And then I got into New Japan a lot. So the New Japan thing really got me going, like the whole Kenny Omega, Okada era, Finn Balor, Bullet Club. Like that really got me very, very interested back into wrestling. And ever since then, I've been I've been wanting to participate with entrance themes. I've been doing music for 20 years. So I started my Squirty LeFlow producer thing 3 years ago. I started with trying to sell beats online, trying to produce hip hop. That wasn't going so well after a year. And then I veered off. I started working with local artists, and that wasn't really my thing. And then I was like, all right, well, let me go back to my childhood dreams. Because when I was growing up, Jim Johnson music was a big, big influence on why I loved wrestling back then. His music, I thought, was just revolutionary. It was something special. Jim Johnson, for me, was lightning in a bottle, basically. And so from that point on, I just started messaging a bunch of wrestlers. And then got into I was messaging last year. I was messaging like 50 wrestlers a day, trying to get as much contacts and trying to get into the business as much as possible. And so I'm about 9 or 10 months in, 23 themes in, and making contacts here and there. Karma Dean, Louis Lesson, you guys have them on before. I actually did a theme for Danny Limelight's tag team, the Bodega, on the Indies. Now Danny Limelight has gone to bigger and better things. He's in AEW now. Good for him. And so that's in a nutshell. That's my journey through music, wrestling, and where the interests come from. And so that's where we are now.
Wow, that's very impressive, man. That's a really good talent that you could actually create beats for wrestlers and so on. And I wish more indie wrestlers would, because I always sat down, I was like, and you kind of brought back that idea in my head, because I always said if I was an indie wrestler, I'd want my own kick-ass theme. I wouldn't want like somebody else's theme, because when you have your own music, nobody could say, hey, you're using my music. Either cut it off or pay my money. I have my own music. Like, what? Y'all can't say nothing. This is me. This is me right here. Y'all play my music, you gotta pay me now. So. And I was thinking, like, wrestlers, they invest in gym memberships, and they invest in, obviously, gear. Why not your music? I mean, why not have your own unique music, so that when you go to these indie shows, you could tell the promoter, hey, this is my music. It's on that CD, and just go forward from there. But and I really and truly hope that more people. Hopefully more people actually go to you, or I don't know anybody else that does indie entrance teams. I know that there's people in WWE and AEW that do it, but I don't know anybody else that does it outside of those two companies. But I hope more people actually come to you and be like, hey, I heard that Karma Dean, I heard that Louis Lessons. I think you also did one for Austin Green, who we'll be having on here next week, the Bodyguard Austin Green. Yeah. And I hope they'll be like, you know what, we like your sound. Let's work something out. I really hope that happens, because it's people like you that we definitely need in the wrestling industry, that are fans and can capture that wrestler's personality and put it on a track for them to come out to. That's very impressive, man. Like I listened to some of your tracks, and I'm like, wow, like this man is good at what he does.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think to answer some of your questions, the main thing why, there's different reasons why wrestlers might not have their own custom theme, and one of them is money, obviously. So independent wrestlers don't make a lot of money. Especially during COVID. I started networking with wrestlers during COVID when wrestling was not happening. So I'm glad in a certain way that I started making my name throughout this time, because it was the roughest time for wrestling probably ever that we've ever had. And when wrestling opens up, then I'm hoping that by the time I'm making my name more and more, that more people are going to come to me for their themes, right? So the demand is going to come back, but also everybody's been broke the past year and a half. So that's one of the reasons why you're not going to spend you're not going to spend money on a theme when you have to feed your family. So that's one of the obvious reasons why. Second of all, some of them might be too early in their career, and they're not necessarily at the level where they're like taking it so seriously to the point where they need a custom theme because they have intentions of promoting themselves online. Because the main reason somebody would get a custom theme is to avoid copyrights, avoid licensing fee, right? So if you want to use, let's say, an AC/DC song, well, it's going to cost you 5 figures. If you want to use a custom theme, it's going to cost you 3 figures. So it's not very comparable, right? So, and yeah, I agree with you. Custom themes are super vital, super important to wrestling, and I think they're slowly making a comeback. Like you said, you don't know anybody else that's doing it, but I do, and I keep a very close eye on my competition, let's say. I want to see what they're doing. I want to see how I can improve on whatever thing they're doing, and that comes from the composition, the arrangement, the writing, the recording, the mixing, the mastering. I've been doing this for 20 years. I went to school for this. So my level of quality, I consider now very much so professional and very much so acceptable. And it took me a long time to get there. And some I hear aren't quite there yet. Some I hear not bad. In AEW now, there's Mikey Ruckus. He's their guy. He's doing some cool stuff. And then there's, there used to be CFO in WWE, but they left because I think they had royalty payment issues. So they just packed up and left, which I understand completely. And now it's the CFO was doing some cool things. They did like Nakamura's theme, Finn Balor's theme, the Bobby Roode theme, Glorious. Like they had some really cool stuff going. And then they got replaced by a group of lawyers called Def Rebel, a group of lawyers that just happens to make music. And I'm not a fan of them. I'll say it right now. The themes in WWE have gone downhill since CFO left. And but anyways, there's also different things that are wrong with WWE, but that's another story. I think the themes are the least of their worries. But yeah. So that's.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. My apologies. I didn't mean to.
No. I was going to say like that's pretty much it. Just to answer like your questions about like why certain wrestlers aren't getting the themes. That could be why. And but yeah, no, I agree. It's very vital, very vital. There's a side also of audio branding that people need to consider. And Jim Johnston used to have voiceovers in his music, right? Let's say like you think of the one that always comes to mind is The Rock's heel theme, where he had his catchphrases sporadically come, every time the 4 bars would loop, you'd hear a different catchphrase of his. And I'm bringing back that essence because I think it's been lacking a lot. And to me, not only is it, it adds to the character, it adds to the presence of the person, but when a person's coming out, it just grabs the attention, especially when you have the wrestler's voice in the theme, like a Shawn Michaels theme or, The Rock's again, or, that kind of different stuff. It just grabs your attention right away. And it's just another form of audio branding, and audio branding has always been a huge part of wrestling, but I think that it's going to be more and more of a huge thing for everybody. Anybody that has a business, anybody that is a creator, is going to have like some sort of beat makers understood this a long time ago. Like hip hop beat makers, they always had their tags at the beginning. And that's it. That's the idea. That's the voiceover that I'm talking about, right? So I think that's going to be coming back more and more, and everybody's going to have sort of like an audio tag or an audio thing. I think more people should be paying attention to that. It just grabs attention and it adds legitimacy, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely I look forward to actually seeing more of that as well too. My question so first of all, I just got to say to all the professional wrestlers that see this right now or are going to see us later on. I sincerely apologize about that statement I made earlier. I didn't know. I didn't mean to insult anybody in their pockets and their income and whatnot. You know, I know how it is. So, you know, that wasn't made by Robert Cathy. That was me. So I'm just apologizing right now. I did not mean to say that. If anybody's offended, that's not what we intend to do here at Ringside Society. But moving on, my next question is, you know, Jim Johnston, man, that man is a legend. So I'm going to ask you a bit of I guess it's a two-part question. Your favorite top 5 for Jim Johnston and your favorite top 5 theme songs, CFO $, because they did some impressive work.
Right.
What would you say were those themes?
Let's start with Jim Johnston. Jim Johnston, number 1 is Stone Cold's theme. It's forever going to be the best theme ever made, in my book. The glass break is genius, and the way he incorporates more glass breaking throughout the theme, and the riff, the bounce, everything about it, the production, it was perfect. It was like that to me is the perfect symbiosis of wrestler to music. It's like that's the most accurate you could ever. It's the most accurate sound that you can ever give Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's like, and also a fun anecdote is that Steve Austin actually went to Jim Johnston for that theme and said, "Hey, I want something that sounds like Bulls on Parade from Rage Against the Machine." And if you listen to Bulls on Parade, the riff is very similar. It's a bouncy kind of riff, and yeah, ever since then I've seen Stone Cold's theme differently, but it's that's the main one. Second one that would come to mind, DX's theme for me is really amazing. DX's theme is, I don't know, it was perfect. It just embodied pure rebellion. It was like and everybody thought it was Rage Against the Machine for the longest time. It was just a guy that sounded a lot like the singer of Rage Against the Machine. I think his name was Steve. And theme number 3 for me is Goldust's theme. Goldust is an underrated theme that nobody talks about, but that's a true composer theme. Like there's strings and oboes and chimes. It's like that's you could tell Jim Johnston was a composer with that theme. Like, he had like tubular bells, and it was like it embodied the whole like androgynous Hollywood vibe very well. So I'd put that at the third one. Actually, like tied third, I'd say Gangrel, The Brood, also number 4. Tied third, maybe. That's a theme that everybody has never forgotten. Still to this day, I ask people what their favorite themes are, and a lot of people say The Brood. And I agree 100%. It was a badass theme, and it wasn't complicated. It just fit perfectly. It's like, and that's a thing where it's about tempo and it's about the bounce of it. It's getting the people to, it's getting the wrestlers to come out in the way that they're supposed to come out, and it's like an ease to embody the tempo and the way, like, you know, like a Stone Cold, like he had that specific walk and that bounce when he would come out, and the bouncy guitar riff would mimic that. Well, the Brood is another one. When you saw Gangrel come out, he would bounce to the music, and it's like that's that's one of the reasons that makes it really a great theme. And I would say Shawn Michaels, but that's actually a Jimmy Hart theme. A lot of people don't know that Jimmy Hart made some classic themes. He made Shawn Michaels' theme, Honky Tonk Man's theme, $1 Million Ted DiBiase's theme, NWO Wolfpack's theme. So Jimmy Hart, also very underrated, but yeah. So just, as number 5, let's straight from Jim John. I'll give it to Jimmy Hart. Number 5, Shawn Michaels theme. And then for CFO nowadays, the ones I mentioned earlier, Nakamura is the one that stands out the most for me. Nakamura with the violin, and then they had violinists play it live. I think his entrance is one of the best modern entrances as well for me. So Nakamura's theme, and actually his theme was better. It got better than his New Japan theme, where everybody was saying, how are they going to top his New Japan theme, all that stuff. But CFO, man, I feel like they did it. they topped his New Japan theme with, which actually blew me away. That's one of the modern themes that blows me away, is the Nakamura theme. After that, CFO recent themes. Like I said, Bobby Roode, Glorious. That's a really appropriate theme. You never hear it anymore because he's doing mostly this tag team with Ziggler. So I don't even know if he still has that theme, to be honest. I haven't watched WWE in a while, but Bobby Roode for sure. CFO modern themes. I think I wanted to say Bray Wyatt, but I know that's not a CFO theme. I really like Bray Wyatt's initial one, but that was done by a band, an external band. CFO themes. I'm drawing a blank, actually, to be honest. Let's do a top 3 instead.
I like Keith Lee. Keith Lee was CFO, right? Bask in Glory.
Keith Lee used to have a good theme. Not so much anymore.
Not the new one. Yeah.
His NXT theme was amazing. His new one is just pure garbage.
Mm-hmm. My ears bleed on that one. I'm like,
I don't understand. Like the NXT has such great things going. They produce such great things. They go to the main roster and then they have to change. Vince has to get his paws on it. They gotta change everything to make sure it's branded by Vince. Mm-hmm. Not realizing that it's the same company, Vince. Like, you don't have to change everything. But yeah, no, I agree. That's a good one. I used to really like Baron Corbin's theme in NXT.
Oh yeah,
and then actually Baron Corbin, his theme there with the lyrics when he went to the main roster is the last Jim Johnson theme in WWE.
Okay.
And I actually like the NXT, his NXT one with the motorcycle sounds. Like, I like that one a lot more than what. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of lyrics in themes, except if it's sang by the wrestler and it's kind of like tongue in cheek, like the Shawn Michaels theme and all that stuff. I'm not a big fan of lyrics in themes because I feel like it's too on the nose. It's too like the lyrics talk directly about the character that he is, and I feel like the music should be giving you the vibe. And yeah, anyways, that's just that's a taste thing, obviously, but I've never been a lyrics guy ever in my life. I've always I can't write for shit. Like, I can't write lyrics, so I've always been a music first guy, and then for me, when I listen to music, I can't even retain the lyrics. Like, my brain isn't programmed that way. So for me, when I hear lyrics in a song, I kind of like get turned off a little bit, except for, and this is not obviously an in-house theme, but Jericho's theme there, the Judas track from his band Fozzy, is really amazing for live crowds. And so when it comes to lyrics, like that's a good one. But some people say that that theme is actually more over than the Stone Cold theme, and I say to the people that you are crazy. You did not watch the Attitude Era. That's
right. Oh yeah, I'll agree. Yeah, that Stone Cold that theme is it's classic. My favorite theme of all time though is Dan DeBeast Severance theme. That one you're talking about, that one that fits him perfect. You know, dun, 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 dun,
that's I've never heard that, but good for you for having a really obscure reference. I like that.
Oh yeah, but I guess after we're done, you gotta check it out, man. It's like, oh okay, yeah, it's like a precursor, Austin, man. It's like, yeah.
I gotta say, I don't even remember it. Like, I'm gonna go check it out after this, and I'll refresh my memory, because that's one that I've never heard somebody mention, and so that I'm intrigued now.
That's right.
Yeah. Dan the Beast Severn, what a guy. I love that guy. Like, I used to be a UFC fan, and I used to watch his old like matches, like the first 10 UFCs there, and like I was really into Dan Severn for a long time. And when he went to WWE, I'm like, oh well, game over. He was like the Brock Lesnar pretty much of his time.
Are you good, Remy?
I think he's having technical difficulties.
If you're having technical difficulties, it's good. I got, I'll do your thing.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah, man. Yeah, Jim Johnson, man. I was on Twitter the other day, and somebody posted on there. I can't remember who it was. They're like, could you imagine if Jim Johnson was called out his name like DJ Khaled did in all of his songs? You know what I mean? So every time, like Jim Johnson.
I know. Well, I mean,
I start thinking that. I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but I think it's like it's again going back. It's taking a page out of the hip hop guys. Like the tags have been a thing forever in hip hop music, and they're more relevant than ever now. And the people pay money to get the producers on their track so they can get their tags on their track because people recognize the track and they're like, oh, that's going to be quality. That's this guy. In wrestling, you don't really have to do it, I would say, because the themes, like say like the Mikey Ruckus in AEW, like it's him making the themes. Like well, for people that know the behind the scenes stuff there, but it's they know that if there's a custom theme, Mikey Ruckus did it, so you don't have to it'd be annoying after a while. Like it's like a battle royal. You have 30 guys coming out. It's like Mikey Ruckus.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It would just be obviously like just redundant after a while, but yeah, I think everybody I have an audio tag from the days that I was making beats. I don't put it in my themes, my wrestling themes, because wrestling themes are a different thing. It's like a score for a movie. It's the same idea, right? So it's like you wouldn't put a producer, you wouldn't put like Hans Zimmer in like the Inception soundtrack. It's like Hans Zimmer made it.
That's right.
So that would take you out. So wrestling is more like a movie in that respect, where you're like composing and scoring for the movie that is that character. So it's not like when you're in the universe, the contained universe of wrestling, you're not promoting anything. You're just telling the story, right? So, but hip hop is all about promotion and making money there. So that's why it's that way. It's more like a commodity than anything. But yeah. What's going on with Remy? Is he? Are you still there?
Oh, you good, Remy? Oh, it's on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm still here. I was just having some. So my normal internet's not on, so I'm just using my phone's network. So yeah. But I'm gonna pass it over to Rob for now. Rob, go ahead, man. The floor is yours.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, man. So continuing what we were talking about, man. Themes and stuff, man. I just wanted to say when I was listening to your the songs and stuff, my two favorite were for Austin Green and Lockjaw. That wrestler Lockjaw. Those are my two favorites of yours that I heard, man. I was like, man, I'm ready. Oh man, yeah, I was like, man, I'm ready to go out and run a marathon, listen to that, dig some ditches, dig some holes, man. I'm ready to go do some manual labor, man. Like, come on, woo, yeah.
So you're more like are you a hip hop fan? I'm assuming.
Yeah, I like hip hop. I like everything except country and show tunes. You know what I mean? Because I can listen to Weird Al Yankovic, and then the next song be Juicy J, and I'm completely great.
Weird Al, that's my guy. I love Weird Al. He's an absolute legend.
Oh yes, yeah. I remember when I was a kid, because I remember Amish Paradise come out, and I remember Coolio. He was all upset, he did the song. And I remember friends and I, we're all like, if we ever became famous, did that, like, I would not be mad. Weird Al made a song up that, man, that's like, it's a sign you made it. You know what I mean? Weird Al parodies you. Oh man.
Yeah, it's right. Well, yeah, that's the because I was a huge Nirvana fan growing up. And that's exactly what Kurt Cobain said. Weird Al contacted Nirvana because he was doing the Smells Like Teen Spirit knockoff. And Kurt Cobain said, of course you can do it. And then he hung up and said to the people around him, he was like, well, guys, we've made it. Like Weird Al's doing a parody, so we've reached the pinnacle, basically.
That's right.
And I agree. Like that's the highest compliment. It all dates back to like the 80s and like his UHF movie. Everything he's ever done is completely brilliant. And people discredit him because they say, oh, well, he's just doing covers and just doing stupid lyrics, but he's actually remaking all of the music. He's not taking the set the backing track of these bands, and he's remaking all the instrumentals in studio with musicians. Like it's a big endeavor what he does. And I've always loved Weird Al. Funniest guy too. And I mean, yeah, like as a comedian, musician, like I'm also a comedian. I do comedy. Let's put it that way. I'm not a comedian per se, but I like improv comedy. I make videos for YouTube and stuff like that. So Weird Al, like that's right up my alley. Like I love the weirdos in life the most, I would say.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah. Let's say, but besides Dan Severn, what sticks out to you theme wise in the history of wrestling?
See, I like Razor Ramones. You know what I mean? That car coming in.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's a great
And if you
one.
pay attention, that beat that you just did, I always thought that's the real precursor to Stone Cold's theme, because that must have been in Jim Johnson theme, but it's the same beat and same bass line, like dun, 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 dun.
That's right.
So yeah, it's just like that beat, that bass line is just cool. Like it just exudes like machismo. That's very on the nose there.
I also like Billy and Chuck's theme, that "You Look So Good to Me," because that was just I was like, oh, boy band stuff, man. It's hilarious, man. I love that song.
Yeah, it's like, and they played it off super well. They played like they played off like their whole angle. Like it's like, are their characters gay? Are they not? What's going on? Like they're very friendly with each other. Like I love all that ambiguous stuff because it tends to piss people off. And I also anything that can piss people off, I'm all for it usually. Yeah.
That's why I like. Oh no, go ahead.
No, go for it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's why when Gold Dust first come out, and so I was like, I love Gold Dust, man. A couple of my friends were like, oh man, he's over there messing with them and all. Like when he pulled the thing down, I was like, I love Razor Ramon, you know. I was like, man, he's playing mind games with him, man. That guy, yeah. Oh, man,
I used to love Goldust. Like again, he was a guy, like back then he was the most hated guy. Like a true heel's heel. He was playing into people's homophobia. And I love that stuff. Like people that are, and I remember reading that Goldust, Dustin Rhodes was not a fan of being the Goldust character at first. Being a good old boy from the South, son of Dusty Rhodes, like he had his pride and stuff. But I don't know where Vince. At first it seemed like it started as a rib to the Rhodes family from Vince, because why would you put? Well, he did the same thing to Cody too. Like he put him in makeup and a weird suit and the star character. So I don't know. It seemed like, I don't know. Well, like in the lineage of wrestling, the Rhodes and the McMahons, very competitive families. And then Dusty Rhodes went to WWE. And then he put Dusty Rhodes in like the fucking get up with the polka dots. It's like clearly he's been ribbing the Rhodes for a long time. But Goldust actually took that rib and turned it into complete gold, and he got so over with it, and I'm sure Vince didn't even see that coming. Like to me, Dustin Rhodes, Goldust, and it's crazy that guy is still wrestling. Like, I can't believe it, and he's still great too. I think he did that DDP yoga, and it saved him. I think Jericho's doing DDP yoga. They're all getting on there. I actually did DDP yoga for many months too, and I gotta say it's worth it. It's worth it. It's not easy. I mean, the way he does it, like he integrates push-ups and shit, and it's like sports yoga. It's like intense. It's intense, and it really helps. Like I'm a big guy, I'm 6'2", 280. Like I'm built like a wrestler. I always wanted to be a wrestler, actually. But yeah, so it's like I actually did that for a while, and thank you, DDP, if you're listening.
Yeah, because I've done yoga, but I've done on like YouTube with like some young lady or whatever is like, this is for core, doing core, and then this is for I've never done DDP yoga because I was like, man, I've always wanted.
And you're a wrestling guy. You're a wrestling guy. You got to give it a shot.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I recommend it. I recommend it fully. If you're going to do yoga and you're a wrestling fan, do DDP yoga. I recommend it. It's you can lose some weight real fast with that shit. I don't know. That might be more of a me problem. You don't seem like you need to lose a lot of weight there.
I'm all right. I'm actually on Operation Fat Rob. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Maybe lay off the yoga for a little while. Huh?
Yeah,
maybe get on the cheeseburgers more.
That's right, man. I've been trying, man. I've been at the beach all week, man. So I've been eating beach food, just pigging out, man.
Right. Oh yeah. Like I'm actually the opposite. I want to lose some weight. I gained a lot of weight during COVID. I won't lie. Like COVID's been. I got a lot of anxiety and like mental stuff there. So it's COVID really got to me. Mm-hmm. And at first, when the COVID thing started, it was like, oh, it's cute, vacation, stay at home. Like I'm used to staying at home. 95. I work from home, and my music producer stuff. It's all from home. I'm a musician. I'm always locked up somewhere in a room. So it didn't really change anything for me. But after a while, I was like, it's getting pretty daunting. It was cute at first there, but after a year, it's like, all right, like. And especially us here in Quebec, we had a curfew that got lifted 2 weeks ago, but for 6 months we couldn't leave our house after 8:30 p.m.
Ooh,
so that was fucking rough.
Yes, we opened up. Like most of the states have opened up pretty much. Like I think there's only like a handful like that are still like you have to wear masks or whatever. Because I think. In every state, we're up around, a lot of people got the vaccination, so they're just like, enough people have had it. I've had mine, I was like, woof, like a couple months now, so I'm like, I'm good, I'm happy. That anxiety's a little gone.
Yeah, me too. I had mine. I had the first shot last month, and it feels very liberating. Mm-hmm. It feels like like our patios reopened 2 weeks ago. Indoor dining a little bit, but still a distance between people. But yeah, no, it's I used to be a guy that would go on walks and would do all my stuff at night. Like I'm a night guy, and not being able to leave your house beyond 8:30 for 6 months there, especially during winter, like for like January, February, March. That was a dark time for everybody.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
But the reason why there was a curfew is because the government fucked up the response for the first year, and then we have to pay for it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, man.
Anyways,
I was gonna say, man. Yeah, when I was like, man, I didn't really go anywhere. I wouldn't go to restaurants or anything because I'm the type of person like if I go to a men's room and my shoelace touches the floor. I'm leaving and today I'm changing that whole shoelace. You know what I mean?
You're burning the whole shoe.
Yeah, yes. I'm like, nope. I'm like, this shoe is this is done. You know what I mean? Nope, I'm not dealing with that. You know what I mean? So, and then I got the vaccination. I was like, okay, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like the whole. I think it's going to change a lot of us. The whole germs thing and getting in contact with people. I think we're going to be very wary of people for a while. Some people less than others, but. I've always been standoffish with people because I get sick super easily. That's why I was kind of like worried about this thing. But anyways, like I'm a little bit. I don't know how old you guys are. I'm 36. I'm a little 39.
39. I never would have guessed it. I'm the young one here.
Oh man.
But that's I'm glad. Well, it's not fully over, but I'm glad that things are opening back up there. We've had a rough go here in Quebec, and a lot of people were very, very depressed. I wonder how many people like committed suicide, and then you don't hear about it, like all that shit. Like there must be a lot of really bad shit that happened, but you'll never hear about that side of things.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But anyway, man, you were talking earlier about you used to love ECW.
Yes.
Well, see, I live in Delaware, and I am like I live an hour away, but from ECW, man. And yeah, man, I was about the same age. Yeah, their attitude era. I was in my teens and stuff, and I remember ECW used to come around my way, and I used to go and take my little brother there. I was like 16, 17. He was like 9, 10, 11. And we used to go watch ECW all the time. My mom, she wouldn't let us go to Philly though, because she seen that crowd one time in a pay-per-view. She was like, I can't let my 16, 10-year-old son, up in there by themselves. And nope.
Yeah. Do you you're the second podcast that I'm on that somebody's from Delaware. Do you know Corey Castle?
Oh yeah. I met him a couple times. We had his friend on.
Yeah, his girlfriend was on.
Yeah,
like the singer girl. Yeah. I was on his podcast maybe like a month ago or something, and yeah, we had a long talk, and he told me like he would go to ECW shows all the time, and I was very envious. ECW was a bit too far for me, but yeah, like tell me about that stuff. Like, how was it seeing ECW? Like, so did you see pay-per-views? Did you see house shows?
Those were how I saw mostly house shows.
Okay,
yeah, but they were crazy. I got to see like Taz versus Tajiri. Rob Van Dam versus Sabu, RVD versus Jerry Lynn, Dudley Boys fighting, New Jack versus Mustafa. You know, New Jack coming out with a trash can a shopping cart full of weapons. That's what he would do. So, yes, it was great. And there's some of the ladies on there that if we ever have on this show, I'm gonna have to apologize to them because some of the stuff we chanted at them and stuff, man, it was like, whoo, man. You know, I'm like, oh, I cringe nowadays. Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, and I'm like. First of all, before we start this, I gotta apologize. I said you had like an STD and stuff. Like, oh man,
they'd put you in jail nowadays.
Rob,
to say that.
Come on, man. Gosh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Like, but ECW was the true uncensored fucking. That was art for me. Like, like unfiltered, uncensored. Like, it could never be. It could never be nowadays. Like, it could never. Like, that's never. We're never gonna see that on a national scale ever again, I would say. But that's a detriment to society because I think society for like censorship and cancel culture is very detrimental to society. Some people should be canceled. Like I keep saying, Joey Ryan, he seems like a piece of shit. Fuck that guy. Yeah. Like I understand like the extreme cases, but like if somebody just says something that somebody doesn't like, you shouldn't cancel that person. Like people still have the fucking right to say anything that they want, right? Even if they make some complete dicks. You can't just completely cancel somebody's career just because they said something weird. Like, if it's like this like overtly hateful and racist thing that like shows that person shouldn't be in the public eye, of course. But if they just have a slip of the tongue and say something off color, it's like, come on, like, but that's where we're going. And that's harmful to comedy. That's harmful to wrestling. That's harmful to just art in general. And I think ECW, that's why I loved it so much. It's because it was pure rage. It was like unfiltered violence, and like it was unapologetic. It didn't care what people thought, and that's real art. That's like the 70s, the 70s vibe of making art, where it's like it was just free, and you were like, all right, let's but yeah, like I'm very envious of people that saw ECW. I started watching it I think in 97, 98, and I saw all the pay-per-views basically. Well, not I sorry to Paul Heyman, I had a black box back then. You remember the black I
had
box?
one too. I got one in Philly for $100.
Yeah, there you go. So we knew a guy that made them in his house, and we bought a black box. And I was watching basically all the WWF, WCW, ECW pay-per-views for free. I still have those tendencies with streaming now. Streaming has replaced the black box. It's if you're watching all the pay-per-views, it's going to get expensive. Monthly there. So I miss ECW. I miss not necessarily ECW because you got to move on, but I miss that spirit. I miss wrestling. To me is rock and roll. It's punk, it's dirty, it's grimy, and WWE has sterilized it for so long. And it's when they went public, basically. When they went public, they had to go sterilize everything. But for me, AEW is slowly bringing that back. Like, let's say, like the Double or Nothing pay-per-view that happened not too long ago. I thought it was completely incredible. Obviously, the crowd coming back, that helps. But it gave me teenager vibes. It gave me, it reminded me of my youth. It's like it made me feel like, oh, holy shit, this is why I watch wrestling. It's like I'm a big AEW guy, and not because I'm biased, because I've worked with some trainees of the Nightmare Factory. But yeah, definitely a big AEW fan nowadays.
Did you see that student showcase? It was very impressive. I actually liked it. I actually liked it more than like one of the last WWE pay-per-view that they had that year, that same month. I liked that a bit more than the WWE pay-per-view because I was very impressed by it. And one of our former, because we have a segment called 15 Minutes of Fandom, which is what we had yesterday with Semi De Stella. And one of the guys, Diamond Sheik, you probably met him, Diamond Sheik. he was our 50 Minutes of Fandom guest, and I found out about him through his brother.
I don't think I know Diamond Cheek.
Yeah, I found out about him through his brother Scooby, and he's called Scooby in like Scooby-Doo apparel. So we found out it was like 3 brothers that actually liked wrestling, and we had him on we had the Diamond Sheik on the show, and then come to find out he messages us. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm actually gonna train to be a wrestler." And man, let me tell you, when he graduated, I was so proud of. We were so proud of that guy, man. Like, and the match he had was really good too. Like, I was very impressed with that whole card. That was really very impressive.
I won't lie. I watched it primarily to hear my themes on there. that was a thrill, obviously. Karma Dean's theme is really cool. Not to toot my own horn. I'm not to toot my own horn, but I really love her theme. And like she used to be an actress, so I got her to do voiceovers for her theme, and she nailed it and put it in the song. It fit really well, and I actually got. I got feedback from, well, I didn't get it directly. I got it through Karma, but Cody Rhodes heard 2 of my themes and said they were great. So that was a big boost for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's, somewhere in AEW, they have in the back of their minds, they've heard Squirty LeFlow's music. So it's
that's right.
Like I'd like to work for a major company like that eventually, right? So, of course, like Mikey Ruckus is their guy right now, but I'd like to be next. Whatever happens to him, wherever he chooses to do, or I know that if I was working for AEW, I would try to stay there for as long as possible. So the opening might not happen anytime soon, but any other promotion, like I would love to participate in. But yeah, that I was actually impressed by some of the wrestlers. I know that Karma Dean told me, I had Karma Dean on my new podcast. Her episode's going to come out in a few weeks, and we actually talked about that training. And she mentioned that there was a beginner class and there was an advanced class. I know there was a guy on there called Dylan McQueen who had been wrestling for a while, and now he's doing some stuff with the AEW. He's totally backed by Cody Rhodes. And so she explained to me the training. They kind of split the classes in 2, and you could kind of tell, like, some people, like during the showcase, some people had a harder time than others. It's totally fine. They've only been training for 3 months. Like, to me, to have a match after 3 months is completely insane, but that's what they offer in the program. So, I mean, props to them for that, for even having a match after 3 months. I know I would be shitting my pants if I was them. It's like you're performing in front of Cody Rhodes, and like they get a bunch of views too on YouTube for that thing, right? So, I mean, very courageous people on there. And actually, one of the things I got from Karma is that Karma got a later start with her training. So did her husband. And I always I always had the impression that wrestling is a young man and a young woman's game, right? You get in when you're like 20 and then you work your way up. But I've realized that a lot of wrestlers I've spoken to actually started way later than I expected. Some got trained at 35, 36, 39, 40, and then they're just doing it now. And I'm 36 and I always want to be a wrestler. So these people are actually inspiring me that I'm going to go to wrestling school soon. and I don't have like big ambitions to become a wrestler, but I would want to do the training just to get a sense of how it is. And I think it would give me a different perspective on the business. It's probably the only missing part that I don't have from wrestling, right? And I have an option too when the school reopens in my city, because Evil Uno and Stu Grayson from the Dark Order from AEW, they're from Gatineau in Holland, Quebec, and they have a wrestling school like 10 minutes away from my house.
Oh, nice.
So when that school reopens with the COVID shit, obviously, and when because gyms have reopened, but you can't spar, like you can't touch each other. It's like MMA gyms, you have to stay away and stuff. So when their school reopens, I'm planning on go training with them, and just obviously, like it would be good for me contact wise. I could have an in with those guys too, but I want to actually do the training because, yeah, these wrestlers I've been talking to, I'm blown away by some people that have decided to start late and actually give it a go. And like Karma Dean to me is super inspiring. Her husband's super inspiring, and yeah. I never in a million years thought that people actually were doing that. And I'm discovering it more and more, and it's super cool.
Oh yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, I'm actually starting to train to be like a ref. You know what I mean? I'm not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday is
Okay.
my first little thing. Yeah. I was like, man, I was hey, you might as well. I've been helping out with the ring crew and all that stuff for 1CW. So I was like, hey man, you might as well see what else I can do. You know what I mean? Hey,
Yeah. Well, Karma, but Karma told me that if you want to be a ref, you have to do the whole training as a wrestler. Anyways,
mm-hmm.
Do you have to do that too?
I'm probably gonna learn how to bump, but I'm not gonna sit there and because I'm on disability. I have this internal bleeding disorder, man. So like I can't be over there doing like 10, 20-minute matches. You know what I mean? Like I can do like a bump here or two. Like if I do it, hey, stop it, clothesline, and I can do that's fine. You know what I mean?
You can sell,
Yeah. And then the next day on the podcast, I wear a neck brace. You know what I mean? Like now I gotta go get a freaking CAT scan tomorrow, man, because I was knocked out for 5 minutes. Thank you, whoever.
You should kayfabe the neck brace.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd definitely be wearing it. I'll just be over there like, man, oh my gosh, this.
It was a rough one. It was a rough one yesterday, guy.
Oh yeah, man. But like, geez. Yeah, so I'm gonna start doing that because we were talking. It was like, do you want to wait till July? And I was like, nah, man, let's go. We can do this now, man. I got you. It's ASAP. Let's go.
That's very cool, and it shows to me that there's still plenty of people that are very passionate about wrestling, and actually wrestlers have said I've heard other wrestlers say that they wish that they would have started older. Because let's say like Ben Bishop, Big Trouble Ben Bishop, who is actually I'm going to plug my podcast right now, but my first podcast episode starts tomorrow, and my first guest is a wrestler called Big Trouble Ben Bishop, and he's 6'10".
Oh, nice.
That's why he was the first one to hire me for an entrance theme, so that's why I wanted him to be number one. But he got discovered by James Ellsworth.
Oh, okay.
In Baltimore, Maryland, and that's where he is now. That's where James Ellsworth is, and James Ellsworth told him that he wished that because James Ellsworth started at 17, and he wished that he was started in his late 20s like Ben Bishop did. Ben Bishop was trained at 29, right? And as a big guy, they can't take a lot of bumps in every match, right? It's the smaller guys that take the bulk of all the bumps. And that really changed my perspective and surprised the hell out of me, to be honest. Like because he said, because you have a bump card in wrestling, right? You only have a certain amount of bumps that you can take, and you run out eventually. The bigger guys have less bumps, the smaller guys have a bit more, and that's why guys like Rey Mysterio are still fucking doing it full tilt there. But yeah, he said that it sucks that he wasted a lot of his bump card when he was 17, 18. And when you're smaller, you have to do crazier shit like a Spike Dudley, where you have to do these crazy bumps to get over, right? So he said that he would have much rather have waited and have more life experience, just be more, have more wisdom towards the business, and just have just talking to these people has changed my perspective completely. Like I can't and it inspired me. Like I'm a scoop right now. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go to wrestling school.
Hey man, go for it, man. I'll be right there, man. When you get out there, man, I'll be a fan of yours, man. I know you're gonna have an awesome entrance theme music, man, to come out.
Oh, it's gonna be the best. It's gonna be the best.
Yeah, you gotta say the best for yourself, man.
Yeah. I don't know what it's gonna be, but I know it's gonna be good. I actually made the theme song for my podcast. It's like a short little 10-minute thing. So so my podcast is called Squirty LeFlow with Squirty LeFlow, by the way.
Is it on YouTube?
It's going to be everywhere. I've scheduled. It's not going to be live like you guys for now, because I like the live stuff with the technical stuff. It stresses me out too much.
Oh, okay.
So I like to do editing. With
it. I don't care. I just.
I know. You guys are braver than I am. I get too stressed out about technical shit. I'm like an audio engineer guy, and like I worry so much about audio quality and all that stuff. But yeah, anyways. I'm that's gonna come out tomorrow, and it's gonna be on YouTube. I'm going through the Podbean service for now, and after the first one, then you can like send it off to iTunes and Spotify. So it's gonna be everywhere, all the episodes, and it's gonna be every Friday.
Okay, that's awesome.
There you go.
So, man, get back real quick to ECW, man. You know that they all used, like somebody's music, like RVD came out with Pantera, what I mean, stuff like that. Like, man, if you were, could you imagine, like, yeah, hey, if you would have got in on there, you'd be like, man, let me do ECW's beats, you know what I mean? Doing some Sandman beats, stuff for New Jack, just like, oh.
Yeah. But I mean, it would have been so hard to top the songs they were using, like Enter Sandman for Sandman, obviously the perfect. But I've told this story a couple times on podcasts, but one of the things that people don't realize is that ECW didn't pay for any of those songs. They played because there's a rule in the law. It probably doesn't apply anymore because technology is too advanced. But back then, if you played the music in the arena and not through the soundboard of the broadcast, then it was like a loophole that Paul Heyman figured out.
Okay.
So you never hear the song clearly in the mix of the show, right? You'd always hear it coming from the speakers.
You know what? That's arena. True. Yeah, that is true. If I'm sitting here thinking about that, I'm like, you never really hear it. Yeah, it was always like
because they kind of sounded shitty. The themes, like because they were coming. The mics of the arena were picking it up, right? So that's the way that they circumvented the licensing fees. So because like getting fucking Enter Sandman would have cost them 25 grand right there. Every song like Walk 20 grand. Like then ECW were notorious for being broke. So it's but I like they were rebellious. They stole stuff. They did what they wanted to do. They found loopholes. They made it happen. But yeah. I know that the guy that was making the guy that made the main theme, the guy that made the theme for Taz and Sabu, those were custom themes, and it was Harry Grievous. He was called Harry Slash, and he had a band called Harry Slash and the Slash Tones. And he's a guy that actually want to get on my podcast. He's been on my Facebook for a while. I'm going to send him a message if he wants to come on. I would love to talk to that guy.
That's right.
Yeah. The ECW theme is one of the best themes. The main theme there. It's I used to love that song, and definitely So it would be hard to imagine ECW themes differently than what they are, and I know that when the ECW shows went on the WWE network, they had to like come up with like these cheapo versions of the songs, and it just fucking ruined the whole thing.
Yes, it did. Oh, I have man, I remember one time, man, I've told this story on the podcast before, but it's you haven't heard before this, but my brother and I, we went to an ECW event, and it was intermission, and we were like, all right, well, let's go to the back or something, go outside, we'll see if there's any wrestlers out there, to hang, let's try and meet some, get a couple pictures. So we go out there, man. But pictures back then, it was like a camera, and you would take it to an hour developer, do that, we didn't have the phone thing, back then. This is the 90s. So I remember we're going out there, and we see like, RVD, it was Bill Alfonso and a couple people. They're standing in a circle, they had a big smoke cloud over their head, right? We walk over there, and my brother's like, yo, they need to go inside, man. It smells like there's a skunk out here. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, we better go too, man.
That's and weed was the least of the drugs going on back then.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember what was it? RVD. I remember watching a podcast. Oh, go ahead, Remy.
I was gonna say a funny story. ECW. I know I was in Quebec, but ECW's come on late over in New York. And I was over there visiting my mom one time. This is like back in and I would never forget. My mother had just gotten home from work, and she decided to like see what I was watching, because sometimes she watches the wrestling, she makes some funny like comments about Kevin Nash or whoever's on the screen, or And there was one point where there was a show, and New Jack was on it, and he was like, "I'm gonna kick your ass." And then he said it again. And she was like, "How many times is he gonna say that?" And then another time there was on that show, there was I think Taz. Taz was on a show, and he had confronted Nova and the Blue Meanie, and the BWO they made the entrance first, and Blue Meanie's a big guy, and so when he starts coming out and he's dancing, my mother was like, "What is this? This guy's out here. What is he wearing?" So the next day, my mother's like, You should have you should have seen what this guy was watching. I couldn't believe it. Some guy came out in Daisy Dukes, a short shirt that's too small for him, and he had no butt, and he was dancing. That's how she actually described him, and I was just laughing. Yeah, that was ECW was definitely one of a kind, and it's fun. We also so sometimes like I tend to like come up with these ideas for these shows, and when they had the Life and Crimes of New Jack, I'm the kind of person like I don't know if you remember Wham. I'll interview George Michael, but at the same time, I want to know what's going on with Andrew Ridgely. So they had the Life and Crimes of New Jack, and I'm like, yeah, that's nice, but we all know that there was two gangsters. What about the Life and Crimes of Mustafa Said? And we actually contacted, and I was like very surprised. Like he actually said, yes, I'll do the show, and I was like, wow, we got a legend on our show. Like this is crazy. But yeah, I was very that was a very great interview. He had a lot to say. If you're ever looking for somebody for your podcast that's coming up, I would definitely recommend that guy. A lot of great stories. And even though he's the more I wouldn't say like lesser known, but the more like the lesser popular of the two, but people remember him. He definitely had a lot to like talk about and so on, especially being in WWE, which I didn't even know happened, and so on. But go ahead, Rob.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, my bad. I guess my phone, there's a glitch in the Matrix or something, man. But yeah, that Mustafa, man, he was what'd he say? He said during that Dark Side of the Ring, he was like, man, I wasn't smoking pencil shavings. I was smoking Sherm stick. That's why I fought all those cops and stuff. I was like, oh, okay. That's right.
Hey, speaking of Dark Side of the Ring, did you see the Korean episode?
Oh yes, I was going to ask you that, man. If you've seen those, but yeah,
I didn't even know about that. I thought I knew everything about, well, not everything about wrestling, but like that's a huge event. But I had never heard of that before.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, man, I'm trying to rack my brain. Like, I don't remember them promoting it or anything, man. I'm like, man. But it was good to see Scott Norton on there, man. He was one of my favorites.
I know. Scott Norton was the shining star, and Scott Norton, very underrated.
Yes.
Very underrated. And he seemed like a great guy, too. Like, but yeah, over there, like, that seemed like a crazy adventure. Like, Bischoff was involved. Ric Flair was there. Ric Flair was freaking out the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Super entertaining story, and I like how Hulk Hogan said no to it. Like he knew better.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, all right, well, smart decision there, Hulkster.
That's right.
But yeah, that was a crazy episode. That's probably one of the most memorable episodes I've seen, just because I learned something. All the other ones I kind of knew about. I learned a thing or two about Nick Gage too. That episode. I didn't know much about him. I knew he was involved with Moxley a while back. They had a thing. But yeah, like, and then through that, I actually learned about GCW. I didn't know about that promotion. And but now I'm very interested. I'd want to look more into it now. I've always been a big fan of blood, violence. Like,
it's funny thing you mentioned that. I was gonna say, if AEW doesn't pan out, WWE doesn't pan out. I got a good. I would never tell you what to do. But if I had your talents and your knack for making, kick-ass beats and kick-ass themes, definitely look into places like GCW, because it's only a matter of time until somebody sees them and is like, hey, we like what you're doing. Here's a TV deal.
They're giving me ECW vibes. They're giving me it's the closest thing that I've seen in a long time in the ECW. And Nick Gage is basically like, who was the top guy in ECW? We consider like
Sandman, Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, Sandman to me was. It's hard to say who was the top guy in ECW, because there wasn't really like a top. Like there wasn't like a John Cena of ECW.
RVD. probably was.
Yeah,
he was.
but they were all at like that peak level, pretty much. Like that's a testament to how fucking great Paul Heyman is as a promoter. Every guy was a star in ECW, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I agree. GCW, I've been watching some stuff, and now I actually saw. I don't know if this was breaking news, guy. I saw today a GCW kid with Nick Cage, and then Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona showed up.
Okay.
Did you guys see that?
I heard about that. Yeah, they might have a match or something. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah. He just showed up at a GCW show, and then he pretended like he was John Moxley, and then he had a mask on, and then the crowd, like he had like his John Moxley mannerisms. He was trying to sell it that John Moxley's back. Then he took off his hood, and it was Matt Cardona. I was like, holy shit, that's interesting. And then the crowd was going crazy, like completely crazy. Like it reminded me of an old ECW crowd that loses their shit there. And so I'm more and more interested. It's like, and I was surprised that they would do a Dark Side of the Ring on that guy, because I had never really heard of him all that much. But I guess it's just me that just missed the boat, because he seemed like he was important and famous enough to have his own Dark Side of the Ring episode, right?
Oh yeah.
So anyway, like I'm sure that like that episode has opened up the door to GCW big time. And I'm paying attention to them a lot now, and I agree. Like I would love to. I don't know enough behind the scenes GCW stuff to know like if who's doing their music and stuff. But hey, put me on there. Give me an ECW vibe. I'm gonna kill it. Like that's my shit. Like the rock punk, like a metal kind of vibe there. Like fuck. Like that's what I'm about.
That's right. Yeah, man, that Nick Gage one was crazy, man, because they have those tournament of death things here in my state, Delaware. You know what I mean? Where it is, where he got thrown in the tube, sliced him open and do that. It was right here in Delaware, man. Like, because people ask me, they're like, "Do you go to that?" I'm like, I had my fill when I was younger. You know what I mean? Anything now would be more gratuitous. You know what I mean? I'm good. Yeah. I'm fine. But I'm man, not, that stuff. Yeah, he lives around here. I think he said he was right off the Walt Whitman Bridge, and that's the bridge from Delaware to Jersey or whatever. So he's very nearby. Yeah, he's kind of close. Yeah.
I'm to be honest, I'm not the biggest. I like seeing blood on TV, but not in person.
Yeah.
I'm very squeamish. Not to be too graphic, but when I was a kid, I used to play hockey, and there's this kid fell in front of me and kicked his skate up in the air and actually nicked my throat and slit my throat open. And I was pissing blood, and I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I was like, that shit that you see that happens to hockey goalies a lot there, and that happened to me was I was 8 or 9 years old, and I remember it being I didn't feel anything, it didn't hurt me.
Yeah,
but I remember seeing, I didn't even know what was happening. I just looked down, there was a pool of blood, and then seeing parents run from the stands to jump on the ice and like grab me. And then all I remember is just a bunch of people, like a movie scene where you're looking up and it's like you're just seeing a bunch of people around you. And they had towels on my neck. They went to the hospital and shit. And apparently if the kid would have nicked me an inch to the right or an inch to the left, it would have cut my artery open. So I got lucky. Yeah. I got lucky. But yeah, I don't know. Well, you can't. There's no way you can see it. But there's still a slit here on my throat where I can't grow a beard. There's you can still see the slit to this day. And so I because of that, I have trauma with blood in person. But I don't know. I haven't seen live blood in a long time at a wrestling show. I don't know how I would react. I would probably faint.
Oh man, yeah, I can't remember either because a lot of the shows I go to, they don't do blood. You know, I mean, the last few WWE shows I've been to, they haven't, done that either. But yeah. Oh man,
AEW's got blood back though, plenty of blood there.
Yeah, when they come back around, man, I'm gonna, I'm definitely going. You know, what I mean, because I heard everybody start, this summer. You know, what I mean, they're gonna start touring, so I'm definitely gonna check them out.
I'm hoping they come to Canada at one point. Yeah. But that's going to be a while there with the COVID restrictions and the traveling. I'm assuming that they're not going to open that up anytime soon there, but we'll see. I would be very, very into seeing AEW live. Like I can't wait for them to come around. Yeah.
Now you're talking about the Dark Side of the Ring and them AEW things. Now I didn't watch the one that was on last week. Was it Grizzly Adams or whatever? Jake Roberts' dad or whatever.
That was dark. That was dark.
See, I cannot watch Law and Order SVU or anything like that. That weirds me out and makes me like sick to my stomach. I know that episode was. So that's probably one I will never watch. That's one that on Hulu and all. It'll be like skip. Like, why didn't you watch that? Like, I already know. I already know.
Their family history. The Grizzly Adams is the biggest piece of shit ever that ever walked the earth.
Yes.
Like he was a pedophile and all this shit there. Like it's a fucking nightmare.
Yes.
And no wonder Jake Roberts was so fucked up. Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, I normally respect my elders and I respect the wrestling legends, but I can't give that guy no pass. I have no love for pedophiles. And I don't care if it's a male messing with a minor, with an underage female, or if it's a female, because yes, a predator is a predator, people. I don't care if it's a grown ass woman messing with an underage male. I don't take pedophiles lightly. That is disgusting. You're trying to tell me that you're a popular wrestler. I can understand if you go after some kind of college freshman, fine, whatever. But an underage woman, come on. I mean, an underage girl, come on, man. That's just messed up, man. And then Jake suffered the same thing with his stepmother too. Like, that's not right, man. Like, that's messed up.
And it's not just pedophilia. It's incestuous pedophilia too. Like it's like the worst kind of shit you could ever. No, that guy should be like just. It sucks in a way that episode exists to give that guy any type of spotlight again, right? But it was to show how badly it affected his kids and Jake Roberts and his sister's brother. I didn't even know Jake Roberts had a sister and a brother that were in WWE at the same time that he was. Like I learned that from that show, right? Rockin' Robin and the other, I forget the cowboy's name there, but I didn't. I had no idea they were siblings because you. Yes, exactly. But yeah, like their dad's like he should be fucking barred from the annals of wrestling, just erased completely. Like to me, like it's even worse than what Chris Benoit did.
Yes.
It's like there should never be another word spoken of Grizzly Adams ever again.
Yeah, because I've heard Jake tell stories on man, how his dad messed him up and all that stuff, and I've heard I already knew what was coming. I was like, no, I'm good. I'll pass on this one, man. Like, I know, I would get sick. Yeah. It was a rough one. If I think of other Dark Side of the Ring episodes, the Owen Hart one was that was a tough watch for sure. I remember watching the Owen Hart incident live on pay-per-view. I don't know if you guys, over the Edge 98. I'll never forget that. Over the Edge 98. It was, Because when he fighting the Godfather for the IC belt, that's what it was, right? Yeah.
Yep. And that night I remember the King's reaction, but I specifically remember Jeff Jarrett and Deborah, their backstage promo. Remember that?
Not offhand.
It was like it had just happened. It had just happened, and they wheeled Owen Hart backstage past Jeff Jarrett and Deborah that were preparing to do their backstage promo, and then he got wheeled past. He saw him, and then they were like, "All right, action!" And then that's the promo that you see is like his instant reaction to him seeing Owen Hart being wheeled away, and that's the most tragic part of that whole. Well, I mean, like besides Owen dying, obviously, but that's fucked up that they kept the show going that night. It was really like I remember I was watching with my family then, and I remember like my dad or something. He was calling family members like, "Did you see that? Like, do you think it's real, isn't it?" And it's like it just felt so weird. It just felt so odd. And the fact that they kept that show going will forever go down as one of the most insane things WWE has ever done.
Because I remember going to school that next day and everybody was just like, all my friends, they watch wrestling too. It was all like, "Yeah, did you see that? Owen Hart died." And Yeah, even people I would go to class and they're like, man, I heard about that. And they're like, man, Rob Bass is known to talk about some wrestling after a pay-per-view, man. He's over there quiet. I was like, man, that guy like on live TV just man. And Owen Hart, and it's like, oh man, Owen. Oh.
And then they got into the specifics of how he, like in the show, they got into the specifics of how he fell, the angles. Like they showed pictures of the blood on the mat after it was done. I was like, holy shit, man! Like this show is insane.
Yeah, they got up to that platform, or whatever, and looked down, took pictures from what he jumped down and was looking down at, right before he fell.
I know.
Oh,
yeah,
man,
it's because
he imagine.
He bashed his head on the turnbuckle, man, because the roof was probably not centered over the ring directly, so he fell like off axis, and he fell like turnbuckle and then snapped on the hardest part of the ring on the side after, so he had no chance.
Yeah,
that was I'll never forget that. It was like it's as vivid as like a 9/11. It's like I remember those events very, very vividly in my mind. Like not to compare 9/11 to Owen Hart's death there, obviously, but I'm talking about like traumatic, like holy shit, like ground shaking kind of moment in time. That was definitely one of them that I'll never forget. That's why like the pay-per-view in the year name just come out right away. Over the Edge 98. It's like I know it, forever. That
was it was definitely wild and stuff, man. That Owen Hart one was bad. The Benoit one was real rough too, man, because it was like you can't even put Nancy Benoit in the Hall of Fame, because you look at her, you're just going to think about what happened to her and stuff, man. You're not going to think about her managerial career and all this. Like, oh man, that's horrible.
That's the kid is the worst part there.
Well, obviously, but
but I mean, it's all terrible.
Yes, just it was all bad. Like,
I think that the thing that is the most underrated in that situation is people don't take into account Eddie Guerrero's death and how it impacted Chris Benoit. They'll always talk about the steroids and the concussions and the CTE and all that shit, but they don't talk about the trauma of losing your best friend. Because that trauma like that rewires your brain and changes things in your brain. If you go back and watch that Raw tribute show to Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit is like completely shattered as a human being. Like the way he's crying, he's sobbing. You never saw Chris Benoit show any emotion, and now you see him like literally falling apart in real time on TV. And not enough people talk about the trauma that caused Chris Benoit. Like that kind of trauma physically rewires your brain. It like breaks pathways. They've done research about this. Trauma rewires stuff inside your brain. So yes, I don't believe that steroids had that much of an impact on it, to be honest, because a lot of people have done steroids and not lost their minds. The concussion stuff, CTE, he had the brain of an 80-year-old apparently. Sure, that's not cool, but the people don't talk enough about the Eddie Guerrero trauma, and I feel like that was the catalyst that made him go off the deep end. That's another thing. Eddie Guerrero, holy shit! Like when he died, that was just like it's just the worst thing possible.
Yes, it was. Oh, I remember that too. It's just like Eddie's passed. Oh wow! Like Eddie was one of the greatest, man.
One of the greatest wrestlers, technical wrestlers of all time. And he was coming into his own so much. Like he was when he died, he was pretty much peaking. Like he was at the peak. Like he was super entertaining. Like he had it all figured out. And it sucks that those guys were, I wouldn't say underused when they were in WCW, but they were kind of underused. But when he went to WWF, WWE there, like the Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, like the Radicals gang there. When they all went to WWE, they all started shining. And Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, like Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn went off the deep end too. Like
Yeah.
he got into crystal meth for a while, and he was homeless, living in abandoned buildings. Like that guy's life seems very tragic. He was super. I always liked Perry Saturn. Like when he had the questionable mop gimmick for a while.
Moppy.
Which Moppy, he went the Al Snow route there, the completely insane route. Al Snow's another guy I feel who's underrated. Al Snow was awesome. In ECW, Al Snow was so great. But yeah, like Eddie Guerrero, I still remember when he died. Chris Benoit, I remember that very vividly. All those traumatic wrestling events there. There's no wrestling fans that could ever forget that. I think it's ingrained in us forever.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. And then, a lot of people don't talk about that. Yeah, like Eddie Guerrero, him dying to catalyst. Yeah, because even back then, mental health, they didn't have the advancements like we had today. You know what I mean? Like I know when I was a kid, ADD. No, you didn't have that. You had ants in your pants. That's what they told me.
Yeah.
That's what they told you. You got ants in your pants. You know what I mean? You need to sit down. You know what I mean? Swat on the butt. That's good. That'll clear your, whatever up. It's like, no. Now you know. Now we know. It's like, oh yeah, no.
It's good, and WWE and all the major promotions. I think AEW is a lot better. They need to get to the point where they can offer benefits to their wrestlers and not treat them as independent contractors. That stupid loophole that WWE's always exploited. It's pure exploitation, and it's insane to me that the U.S. government has never stepped in and said like, hey, we got it. But it's because the government doesn't give a shit about wrestling. Like that's why, it's like they don't care about these wrestlers. But yeah, it's still, WWE still operates like a carny operation from 40 years ago. It's the same idea, just with bigger lights and bigger screens, but it's the same thing, right? I think when Vince McMahon goes away, the new people come in. I think they're going to start implementing benefits for wrestlers. I'm hoping it's the right thing to do. These people sacrifice their health. They're for people's they're literally just masochists hurting themselves for your enjoyment, right? So it's so that's one of the biggest shames of professional wrestling to me, is how for the longest time, because of WWE, wrestlers are just treated like trash. Like they're treated like especially in WWE, you're just disposable, right? The wheel will always keep turning, no matter who comes in, who leaves. Like we saw recently, you have Braun Strowman's out, Aleister Black is out. Like Braun Strowman was like one of the top 3 guys in WWE. I don't know, he probably was discontent or he yep.
That's why I always look at people. 2 people that I actually admire, and I've never really said this before. The Rock and Brock Lesnar. The Rock started with WWE back in 1996, and by 1999 he pretty much did everything, or by 2000 he pretty much held all the titles and so on. And by 2002 he was like off to Hollywood. Now it's like he doesn't need WWE anymore. WWE probably needs him, but he doesn't need them anymore because he's actually he saw his worth and he did his thing. And I remember back then I was kind of salty when he left, and I was like, man, The Rock's trying to get rid of his name and this, and he's acting like WWE doesn't exist. But then I finally found out where he was coming from.
Yep.
And I'm glad that he actually branched off, and now he's doing like something outside of wrestling. And Vince McMahon can't get one over on him. Brock Lesnar's another one too. Brock Lesnar saw his worth as well as an athlete. He tried out he told Vince McMahon, I don't want to be doing this sport forever. He gave football a shot. Then he gave MMA a shot, did really well in UFC. I was to a point where he can actually call his price with WWE right now. So, he does, to me, from the outside looking in, he doesn't need them. I mean, if he wants to just go off of what he's earned. But yeah, those 2 men, they pretty much did it right. And I like to see like people like find stuff, outside of wrestling, because you can't wrestle for all your life. I look at guys like John Cena. John Cena's doing the acting thing. Sasha Banks had a couple of appearances in The Mandalorian. Hopefully Becky Lynch follows whenever she's off maternity leave, comes back. And I keep telling people, like, you can get excited about Becky Lynch, but I have a feeling when she comes back, going to be back in a limited, kind of like The Rock. She's going to be back in a limited capacity because I heard Hollywood was knocking on her door, and I got a feeling that's the route she's gonna go. But yeah, I think it's time for a change for the whole wrestling thing, man. I mean, these men and women. I mean, I don't mind paying $30 for an extra $10 for a ticket. I mean, I don't mind. You know, I mean, they definitely deserve the benefits, and that's why I always respect them. That's why we see when I started this, and for those of y'all listening, you're gonna hear this many more times. I don't care if you never make it WWE or AEW. I don't care if you never make it to even Impact or Ring of Honor. But the fact that you actually step in that ring and put on a show for us, we want to hear from you. That's what matters to us. You stepped in the ring, put on a show for us. We want to hear your story. That's that. We're not looking for the big superstars. I mean, if they come to us, fine. We will. If we find an opportunity, we will definitely have them on. But for the most part, once you step in that ring, we don't care what gender, ethnicity, heck, even sexual orientation. We want to hear your story, and that's where we come from. But I think it's time for the Carney thing. I think it's time for a massive revision of the way things are done with wrestling, and yeah, they definitely should get some sort of a benefit, as well. Maybe an incentive as well too.
No, I 100% agree, and wrestling is $1 billion industry. It's time to get out of the circus, right? I mean, the circus is reserved for Cirque du Soleil nowadays. Shout out Cirque du Soleil. That's from here, Quebec. A Quebecer started that. It's played out. AEW understands it. I think they're taking care a lot better. The wrestlers. AEW can set a precedent for how national mainstream wrestlers should be treated, or any wrestler should be treated. Of course, in the indies, it's harder. There's less money. Less people go see the shows, all that stuff. I understand. But fundamentally, these people have chosen a path in life that will potentially damage their well-being and their health in the long run. And I think the industry should honor that way more, because without them, there is no wrestling show. It's the same vibe as musicians, artists. It's the people, the musicians are taken advantage of from executives and greedy people behind the scenes. Artists, the same thing. The artists get like a 10% cut of whatever they're doing, and the rest goes to agents, managers, executives, all that stuff. So that's a societal problem as a whole, that the people that are actually making shows and art happen are treated the poorest. It's completely backwards. It's it's a sick society for that. I've always really didn't dislike that from how the world is built. Me as an artist, I've always been an artist. I will forever be an artist. And I've seen so many people more talented than me, people further along than me, treated so poorly and being taken advantage of left and right because they don't have necessarily the business knowledge that all these other execs and higher ups have. And they know that. And then let's say people that get record deals. A record deal nowadays can mean the death of you as an artist. They give you an advance. They give you like $500,000 to make your album. But then you can only recoup your money after you've paid back that $500,000 from touring, sales, merch, and all that stuff. And some people never make that kind of money. So you're in the red forever, and then basically you're dumped. And then you're in trouble for the rest of your career. And that's it. So, that's the music art side of things. But there's also the wrestlers. They're just taken advantage of left and right. And I think that the Braun Strowman situation is probably a little bit of him knowing what his worth is and going all right, well, I'm out. And I feel like that was a contract negotiation that went sour. I feel like that's what happened to Braun Strowman. I'm not there. I don't know. But my guess is he wanted more money than they were willing to give him, and he's like, all right, well, I'm out. That, and also being frustrated creatively. They started a bunch of things with him. He was supposed to have a big feud with Brock Lesnar for a while. That never really happened. all those things combined, and I think he just said, "All right, well, I'll go." I don't see how they could have fired him. So I feel like it was his decision to leave. That's my point of view on that. But I get. I don't think that AEW is going to pick up Braun Strowman, though. I don't think that's where he's going to end up. I think he's going to end up in like. I'd see him in Japan, to be honest. Braun Strowman should go to New Japan for a while. Like he would be a god there. Like the Japanese fans, they love a big monster type, like a Gaijing that shows up there. This big, huge guy that's come to destroy. He'd be like the Godzilla of wrestling over there, right?
Like what Albert did when he left here.
Yeah. He rediscovered himself there, became Tensai, came back here, and WWE ruined it completely. Yeah, but no, I agree. Like, he's gonna. I would see him in Japan for a while. Why not? A lot of guys, when they like John Moxley, went to Japan for a while before he went to AEW. Chris Jericho. Japan is one of the places to be for wrestling. It's and speaking of which, one of my goals in life is to go to Japan and book my trip around when one of the big New Japan shows is, just so I can see a New Japan show once in my life, right?
Yeah.
That's one of my dreams for sure. But yeah.
Oh yeah, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, man, before I pass it on back to Remy, man, I do want to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, man, coming on, chatting with us about wrestling, about making beats and all that stuff, man. I had a blast. Man, yeah, it was definitely fun chatting with you, get reminisce about ECW, all that good stuff, man.
I had a great time. And do I plug my stuff now or after Remy's done?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, Remy. He disappeared, but when he comes back, he'll let you plug your stuff, everything you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah, man, but before I pass it on back, I just want to say, I wish you nothing but the positive things, man. I hope you, get on it, Cody, be like, all right, man. We need you to make some of these beats, man. I hope all that stuff happens.
I agree.
Things happen to you, your family, all that good stuff, man.
Same to you, man. Thanks you so much for having me. This was great. I had a good time. Thanks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely go ahead and plug your podcast and stuff.
All right. Okay. So I'm Squirty LeFlow. You can find me on all socials at Squirty LeFlow. I am also a comedian. You can find my comedy videos on YouTube under Squirty LeFlow as well. My podcast, Squirty LeShow, is debuting tomorrow, Friday. My first guest is Big Trouble Ben Bishop. I'm going to release an episode every Friday. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Squirty, I got to say, it was an honor having you on here. We were looking for gear makers, but now we can actually say we also interview entrance theme producers as well, too. I didn't even think about that. Like, I was like, I never forget, you actually contacted me. I was like, who is this guy? And then I had to ask, because I always verify people, so don't feel any way. So I had to ask Karma and Louis. Karma asked. I was like, it was this Squirty LeFlow guy. She was like, he sounds really cool. She's like, yeah, he did my entrance theme. I'm like, okay, after we have Louis lessons, we'll have him on. And then I heard some of your stuff, and I was like, yeah, we got to get this guy on, man. This is gonna be. I'm excited. Our first ever entrance theme, entrance theme producer. And I always say, man, like, one of the things that makes us unique here is that we interview everybody, man. Like, not just wrestlers, like referees, promoters. Obviously, we haven't had a gear maker yet. We're still trying to work on that. But we've had ring announcers and even people that have done documentaries. People that make wrestling what it is. And I'm very, very, very grateful we're very grateful for this opportunity as well too. And Squirty, like I said, thank you very much for it. And we definitely hope that, somebody signs you, AEW, hopefully maybe they're like, you know what, we'll just use you and the other guy, or maybe Impact, Ring of Honor, or like I said, maybe GC or MLW, they just got to deal with Vice TV. So who knows? I definitely hope that, your work, elevates and your name gets more around there and so on. And if you ever have anything you want us to promote, by all means, just shoot us a message and we'll definitely make it happen, because we like to, not only do we like to do this show, we also like to inform the fans as to who's who and what's what and so on. So with that being said, once again, thank you for giving us the opportunity. And with that being said, we're about to go ahead and close this show right now. First off, before we plug myself and Rob Bass plug our social media platforms and whatnot. Huge thank you to Alicia, the Warrior Princess, who's our mod on Twitch. Alicia, thank you very much. Much love from us on air here. And you can definitely find her on Instagram and Twitter at EndoSurvivor282. She's a very cool person. With that being said, Rob Bass, where can fans find you on social media if they want to shoot the piece about wrestling? Where can bookers and promoters find you if they want to book you as a referee for the shows once you're done with your referee training at good old is it 1CW?
Yeah, 1CW. Workhorse Training Center, I think it's gonna be called.
Workhorse Training Center. There it is.
Yeah,
yes.
I believe that's
once you're done with Workhorse Training Center, where can the awesome. So once you're done with Workhorse Training Center, where can they find you on social media if they want to book you for their shows?
Yeah, you can find me at on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Rob_Bass82, and then Facebook and YouTube, Rob Bass.
Awesome. If you want to find me on social media, not that I have anything interesting to say, but who knows, you might hear something cool. You can find me on Twitter under at @TheRemyBlue. You can also find me on Facebook under just Remy Blue. It's a picture of me in a WrestleMania 28 shirt at WrestleMania. And our podcast is also on Instagram. It's actually on Instagram. It's under @Ringside Society. We're also on Twitter @Ringside Society. We also have a Facebook group. Yes, it's if you guessed the name is Ringside Society, you guessed it correct. So and also we also have a Twitch channel, which like I said, Alicia the Warrior Princess is mod of. So it's under @Ringside Society 2019. And we also have a YouTube channel where this episode is actually being streamed. Yes, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have a lot of cool episodes on there, like this one, like the ones with Lewis Lessons, Karma Dean, our good friend Diamond Sheik, a woman who I regard as one of the mothers of women's wrestling in WWE, women's tag team wrestling in WWE, Princess Victoria, and Soraya Knight. So make sure you guys check those out. Those are very interesting interviews as well. All the interviews are interesting. But with that being said, we just want to thank all of y'all. For those y'all listening tonight live, thank you very much for listening to us. We really and truly do appreciate it. Like, this is no cap. We really and truly do appreciate y'all. To those of you that are going to listen to us later on, thank you very much in advance. We appreciate that as well. And to those of you that really can't stand us, hate us, really and truly wish we would just go away, well, I'm very sorry, but like myself in a candy store, we're not going anywhere for a while.
They hate us because they ain't us.
And we ain't stopping. It's been 2 years. With that being said, we here at Ringside Society just want everybody to know that we're very well aware that everybody and their grandparents and their parents have a podcast. Oh, not your grandparents' podcast, not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hashtag, we are not the same, and we mean it. Rob Bass, one time for the mind, one time for the people, one time for the wrestling culture, and one time for Squirty LeFlow. Let me try that again. One time for Squirty LeFlow out of great Quebec, Canada, and his illustrious work that we can all jam to. What type of podcast are we?
We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast.
That's right. We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. And with that being said, we will be back this actually Saturday with our NXT In Your House predictions with our special guest, Brandon. That's right. He will be, Sir Brandon, actually. He will be on here with us, giving us his predictions alongside ours. And after that, we'll be having, I know Kathy's excited for this one, special guest, Maddie Rinkowski. That's right. You've seen her on Mission Pro Wrestling. You've seen her on AEW numerous times. She will be on here with us live on Sunday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you tune in for both of those episodes this weekend. But until then, Y'all stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.
See y'all. Good night. Stay classy, Delaware.
See you later.